Yeah, and that's where love the Beastmaster ban. I know it's very specific, but I think it's just a scary team. I think giving Moo that hero is just not a great idea to play against. At the same time, I think Four Zoomers know exactly what they don't want to go versus Lumiere in any team, in any situation, whether it's Hikori, whether it's his short stint on Infamous, has always just been the win objective. He's the guy who's going to carry you across the finish line. It's his Faceless Void, it's his Monkey King, and I wonder if we will see his Monkey King in this game. I think versus both Pugna and Keeper of the Light, you might have a little bit of a kiting issue. It might be a little bit more difficult to deal with than, some of his other heroes. But at the same time, I think it's going to be incredibly important for Costabile to get a hero that he's going to want to go late versus Lumiere. I feel like where we're going to see this draft kind of head towards, though, is probably going to be a battle of the CKs, probably going to be a battle of the Wraith Kings, probably going to be a battle of the TBs, to be honest, especially with how Katara was able to play yesterday and just keep his team out of the thick of it. I mean, that was a completely lost game and extended 15, 20 minutes just because of his play alone.
Right. It was, a losing effort, but still an impressive effort all the same. So, yeah, that's what that hero could do in a game that was pretty much doomed to failure. So you put it in the hands of one of these other squads in a maybe more optimistic situation, and you are not going to be. So, see if that's a priority moving forward. Infinity, though, still kind of looking towards that offlane position with the removal of the Pangolier, although considering the Four Zoomers lineup, I mean, that's a multi-purpose band. They could send it really to the offlane, or they could have put it in Gunner's hands, maybe.
Yeah, and of course, still have the question mark in the coddle whether or not it's going to be a Z Freak hero as we usually see it, or if it's going to be a gunner taking it mid. But at the same time, I feel like right now Infinity probably going to lead with their four position. Four position hasn't really been all too contested. Could see them going for the Skywrath Mage, which is the most likely hero pairing alongside the DK, even though versus Pugna it could be a little bit scary. Same time, Snapfire is also a very good solution. There's really no bad option, I think. Even I would go so far as to say the Weaver if they really needed to. Just have some pesky four position to get on top of these very squishy supports, arguably picked up on Forzumer's side.
Yeah. Eh, like you said, the Weaver, it's an option, but I'm not sure if it's a primary option, so it's still available for Infinity. For now, though, I do want to see, will they take one last stab at the offlane pool here? The Mars has been banned out already, but I've seen a lot of teams focus in on removing things like that Sand King that could give them issues in terms of allowing Four Zoomers that extra sort of damage and teamfight initiation. So Infinity are taking a little bit of time to think this one over. It is worth noting, as they actually switch up to the Ember Spirit ban, they had the ban, then the pick, so might have been looking to sort of plan out both steps of that maneuver and see the response there. It's going to be the Tusk for them. I sincerely doubt Infinity are going to pull any sort of shenanigans like we saw from Four Zoomers yesterday with the Tusk being swapped mid, so it should be their position for support.
Yeah, and they certainly are allowed to, right? If they pick Lumiere's hero at the end of this phase, we could see some tricks. They do have last overall pick, but like the Tusk a lot versus Pugna, it's an interesting matchup because, of course, well, he has Decrepify. That physical damage might not come through immediately, but I think that's where Tusk just has so much mixed damage. Both the Snowball and the Shards do so much magic that it doesn't really end up feeling like a perfect counter. Not to mention, I think Tusk is one of the best heroes at actually getting on top of that Keeper of the Light. Even though same thing stands for the Coddle, you've got the Blinding Light that you can just throw out, mess up his initiation, screw up the Walrus Punch, but I think it's just the potency of the other two skills. And it's a four position that kind of shores up of any problems of you actually getting into the pit. I think Infinity just have a really wide open draft right now.
And if they are running that DK at the 3, then the Tusk DK lineup has some stun combos that could provide a lot of aggressive potential against whatever the Stable hero is going to be. And well, it looks like we might know what that hero is going to be now. They take the Sven with their third pick. Okay, never
Something is
mind.
happening. The game is afoot. There is a Sven and a Terrorblade in the same draft.
What?
Something has gone awry. But this is for Zoomers, right? This is what they like to do. They like to play around in their group stage to their own detriment at times. They like to experiment with stuff. They like to try a new hero and be like, we're not picking that again. We're not going and doing that for the rest of the tournament. But I'm very intrigued to see where this Sven actually goes in almost for Zoomers fashion. I want to say I feel like it's going to be a husky Sven almost because it almost makes sense in the back of my mind where he wants to be that melee hero that goes in. At the same time, I could also see them take it to the off lane, but that just is so funky. And Sven didn't really get all too changed very much in 731C as well, I believe. So this is kind of out of left field. I thought they were going to pick Troll. Usually when you see a double melee offlane so starkly put out in front of you, that's the free pick. But oh, and there's the Lumiere Void. Okay, here we go.
Not a crazy amount to throw into that Chrono combo-wise with this lineup, but if you're Infinity, at this point the focus may just be having the Chrono for, well, whether it's the Sven or the TB, just lock that hero down, try and get as much damage onto them as possible, and if you can take out that sort of primary damage dealer in the Chrono, then your combo, that really doesn't matter. You're just looking for that kill, and Lumiere, um, very rarely sort of whiffs on the Chrono. Every once in a while he has an off game, but Infinity are banking on him being very sort of stable for them.
Yeah, and I am looking over the patch notes, seeing that Sven did get a little bit of a buff, at least on his stun at those early levels. Almost got a reverse Wraith King, I think, as you could say. Taking his 1.25-second level 1 stun, making a 1.4. I think those are exactly Wraith King's old numbers, but um, at the same time, we'll have to see. It's a big question mark in the back of my mind. I think this Faceless Void pick is a little bit killer versus both the Pugnant and the Keeper of the Light. I mean, that's brutal stuff. That's just really easy. I think, like you said, though, not a lot of damage to throw out into that Chronosphere. What's going to be incredibly important for Infinity is, I think, keeping that chain stun going after the Chrono or having Lumiere be that follow-up. It depends on how these team fights actually get started, but there always needs to be that Blink Dragon Tail. There always needs to be that snowball, especially when it comes down to actually killing this Terrorblade. If Costabile gets a Sunder off, I mean, that's your fight blown wide open, and Infinity simply don't have enough damage to actually follow up on a lot of these kills. It's where the life drain, it's where the heal from the coddle, all of these tools that Four Zoomers have could actually pose quite a threat to Infinity, and especially when it comes down to them wasting their cooldowns. Both the Elder Dragon form and the Chronosphere are very long, they're very brutal. Infinity just have to keep on getting those objectives, whatever those abilities are up, but if they ever miss, and I feel like 4-0 can almost make them miss, the game can certainly become a struggle very quickly. I think that's where in PP's hero, they just need a brawler. They need somebody who's going to go in, constantly fighting. I think the Invoker ban is perfect from 4-Zoomers.
In the meantime, Infinity, something we don't really get to see all that often, that is a pair of position 4 bans in Phase 3, and they were on the right track. Maybe not quite the right heroes, as Four Zoomers do get the Wyvern for themselves, but they basically assumed that the core trio had already been picked up. So, well, now there's a Wyvern on the field for Four Zoomers, which means a lot of the initiation from Infinity will now have to take that Wyvern's position into account. I assume that Wyvern is going to get probably a little bit of that cast range extension with something like the Lens, and then if you don't account for where that Wyvern is and you jump in with your Chrono, then there's just going to be that Winter's Curse to sort of break up your entire initiation.
And then let's see. Okay, looks like it's going to be I feel like it could go either way on the supports, actually, just because Pugna is such a beast at making those trades happen. But, I mean, sending the Coddle mid, really good decision versus the Queen of Pain. PP's not going to be able to really shut you down all that much. And yeah, they do swap it up because of how successful Pugna is at making those trades actually happen in your favor. Not to mention, with the Winter Wyvern, you have that Arctic Burn versus the DK. The armor doesn't really matter if you're doing that HP percentage damage. It's so funny. Both of these drafts seem like the teams that picked these heroes. Both of these are very typical of, I think, both sides here. You've got so many classics on so many different player combos. It's really the only one you'd kind of raise an eyebrow at, I think, at this point is the Sven, but that's where, baby Sven's crazy now. Maybe they're trying it out. Maybe it's going to lose the lane and look terrible, but fingers crossed, it's a blank initiator. Moose should be able to show us a show.
And of all the players you'd want on an offlane Sven, Boo is probably one of the best in terms of having that experience both as an offlaner and as um, a carry in previous situations. So he'll know how to play the Sven. Hopefully he knows how to get the most out of it efficiency-wise here with this sort of off-meta positioning. So very interested to see how it works. At the end of the day, it's still probably going to be this Costabile TB that's sort of the star of the show for Four Zoomers, but I am more than willing to be proven wrong with that one if Mu is able to just sort of save the day and carry his team to a win. That's assuming, though, that they are able to deal with the fight from Infinity.
Yeah, and that's where at the same time, Infinity are going to need a lot from Lumiere. And they are asking for quite a lot. Not only is he going to really find those penultimate ultimates landing on, I feel like everyone, he has to hit so many different heroes in these Chrotospheres. If he doesn't hit the Pugna, then you're getting decrept and life drained. If you don't hit the Coddle, well, then you're going to get cursed by the Wyvern. It's where I think a large part of this game is going to be Infinity picking away at their opponents and trying to draw them away from each other. Because if four Zoomers are together, that Chronosphere is just so difficult to hit. It's where this fight could drag out incredibly long. And I think that's what Infinity is looking for. They want that super long, drawn out fight. I think four Zoomers are definitely the team that need to commit a lot faster in those engagements.
Oh, go.
Oh,
Looks like
geez.
both teams are ready. Get right back into it. Slight pause at the start there, but we are underway. We'll see what these two competing smokes really get us here, because Infinity, they're moving out with pretty much everyone. Four Zoomers have a little bit of a split scenario here, but Infinity have to take such a long sort of wraparound route here that it seems like they're going to run out of time on this smoke before they're fully in position. But even if this doesn't net them an actual fight, this is a great sort of opportunity for them to get some deep wards down. They're looking for that early vision.
Yeah, and is it up on the cliff?
Ooh, okay.
Okay. Makes sense. I was gonna say I wouldn't be too surprised if I saw Genic having something super deep behind the towers, because of course you're Tusk, you're a melee hero, you have boots first. Killing couriers is really quite an easy task, but at the same time, I think Kosubile scouting out doesn't get the reflection level 1, which is a little bit unfortunate, and well, I guess gonna feed a little bit of illusion gold, you know. Nothing really matters all too much here. I think it's funny, we still see so much poking and prodding to see where those mid wards are, but Gunner actually has a fantastic mid ward on the opposing side of the map.
Got across the river, and that's actually an interesting one there. They saw Prada sort of come over to check on the opposing side of the river, but Prada didn't get hit by the tower, so he assumes that there's no ward there, and as he pointed out, that's an incorrect assumption. It's just in a very different position than usual, so might be a slight advantage for Gunner. We'll see what he can make of it. In the meantime, here, Husky, okay, not really doing anything, just a slower rotation down bot. Thought for a moment he was going to try some shenanigans mid, but it's a level 1 Wyvern. Not really sure how much could be accomplished there. So they'll just head on down to that bottom lane. And as you said in the draft, this is where things can get a little bit obnoxious, because that Arctic Burn means Mariano is not nearly as durable as he would like it to be. You even see him just sort of back away just to avoid as many of those shots as possible, but Burn is going to be a factor.
Yeah, and Genic gets the creep pull though. But look at this. Look at Costabile. He's doing some nifty things of his own. He actually takes this Conjure Image Illusion and pulls the wave into the small camp. So he gets to finish his current wave, pulls it into the small camp, is going to farm the small camp, and then is going to pull it into the next wave behind the tower if everything works out perfectly. Let's see it from Costabile, and if it does, might drag into tower. He wants it behind. Okay, got the Rage Creep. What can you do?
Not perfect, but still pretty damn good, all things considered. So he's going to be able to salvage that. Meanwhile, look at Husky, just sort of providing a bit of a distraction here on the front line. Maybe hit himself level 2. He can. While the TB sort of farms up behind the tower, but now Genic is trying to get in there to disrupt this, but this early on, there's not a whole lot that Tusk can do either. Genic at level 1 only has the Ice Shard, so not really going to be able to make any damage stick if he does try to get aggressive.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, at the end of the day, it's a nifty playing to the small camp, but I feel like Mariano kind of got exactly what he wanted to, and there still is a meta available because Billy didn't have to commit it very early as we typically see TBs just kind of send it on those first two waves, but at the same time, this DK is not failing. I think he's actually pretty satisfied. This will be a decent amount of damage, but should just be able to walk it off, and the breathe fire, the damage reduction, I mean, it's all you need, really.
Just taking a little bit of that edge off for Costable, so I mean, he can still use the meta to farm, but not really going to have the opportunity to just press in onto those heroes. So Lane should stabilize relatively well for the Infinity side. Meanwhile, there's been a fighting
Ooh.
going on up top. Prada dropping low, trying to get himself away. Not going to be able to make it out of there. Z-Freak picks up first blood. Now Lumiere, he's got his time walk, so he should be okay, but he wants to stick around. He is hoping for the kill on the Z-Freak. Ugna, with the stick charge, is going to be able to survive, and Lumiere does have to back away, and, well, that's a nice little combo. Go in, drop the stun, that sets Z-Freak up pretty much perfectly for the Nether Blast, and it's not enough damage to really do in a Faceless Void, but a much squishier Bane doesn't really have a way out.
Yeah, and it's super unfortunate. He at least gets to take half of that wave underneath tower, but Moo gets to aggro the full wave onto some ranged creeps, denies a whole bunch of XP. Thankfully, though, Prada looks like he will be able to reclaim that creep aggro. It doesn't let that large camp pull get off, otherwise Lumiere would be incredibly sad, but this is the strength of this Sven, right? You've got pretty good base stats, you've got incredible base damage, he certainly is outpacing Lumiere, and you can just immediately turn onto that Bane if Prada ever gets a little bit too far up, as usually Banes are the one to make the lane seem easy for your carry, but I think it's where Prada maybe just overstepped his bounds just a little bit. This is a nice pull, though.
Back down bot. Yannick and Mariano tried to get aggressive. This is going to turn on them pretty much immediately, though. They get the Shard Trap onto Husky. The problem is, Kostopoli was involved in that fight as well, so he just turns around with the damage, and Genic not able to survive. So, four Zoomers quickly put a second kill on the board here, and I said this lane was going to stabilize for Infinity. For Mariano, that's true. For your Tusk, maybe not so much.
Ooh, and I think it's just that Arctic burn damage, and of course, this is another air quotes new hero, right? You know, the Arctic burn duration got increased from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. You know, feels good, man. But really, at this point, we are kind of getting to this area of the game where Mariano, he shouldn't be able to stay here by himself. Husky's set up to really do a lot of damage if Mariano does just stay in the wave, just kind of carelessly. At the same time, Genic is not able to really make those easy rotations. Haven't seen anybody contesting this Coddle, even though they really should be looking at Gunner pretty soon here. I feel like maybe
Mariano,
Genic looks for an attempt mid, but
that was not a
yeah.
great idea. He's just got to TP out. He should make it, but that's just kind of awkward. He goes in with the Dragon Tail, stuns up the TB, but takes a lot of damage from the burn, as well as just a level 1 Splinter, but the slow coming in allowed Kostopoli to really dish out some damage there, so very awkward attempt. Your DK TP's all the way back to base, so now Genic returns to the lane, but he's by himself, and Kostopoli is free to farm up, but up in the top lane, PP makes his move. TPing top, they're looking for Moo. PP does have the Sonic. He would need to pop the wand to actually get the mana for it, but they're not going to need it. 3v1, don't need the ult there as Moo gets taken down.
You know, very well timed. Of course, Z-Freak taking the long walk all the way back to the base. He was out of resources. Didn't even scout it out. Just kind of knew that the Pugna was tapped, but still feel like there is, or should be, this emphasis on the Coddle. He's been getting kind of trading XP with Genic, and Genic has taken over the mid lane for just a little bit here, but at the same time, Gunner's level 7. This Coddle only gets faster. Isn't able to get the Illusion Rune. Might force Prada to take it, but at the same time, I'm a little bit concerned with how much this Coddle's getting.
Yeah, and you see him actually looking to be a little bit greedy with the build. Boots of Travel as that sort of first major item, so that is going to free up Gunner to do really so much farming, so much pushing across the map, and that might be a perfect way to solve a potential issue for 4Zoomers before it actually becomes one, because your Sven's going to want to farm, Kostopoli on the TB is going to want to farm, they would both presumably take up some space in your jungle, so if you're Gunner, well, if you can't farm your own jungle, you might as well push out those waves with the Boots of Travel, so he is going to have access to a little bit more across the map, as now Moo, he's in some trouble up top. He's going to try and throw the stun out onto Genic, but he's still getting slowed up by the tag team, and I do believe they've got the damage to bring him down. Good attempt by Z-Freak with the decrep, but they had enough magic damage.
Yep. Just an unfortunate circumstance, and another great reason why the Tusk is so great versus that Pugna. Just kind of pop the tag team, hit him a bunch, decrep him, nuke him down. It's just that easy, but a lot of TP's bottom, actually. Yeah, that's PP.
Not the fight. They've got the Sonic. Stabile is dropped low. Husky really can't help him here. He did have the Cold Embrace, but... or he had already used it, excuse me, so wasn't really able to save his buddy. Kostopoli gets taken down. Moo is here, but... yeah, the creeps are going to spot him out, so he's not really sneaky anymore, and there's not much of an opportunity for him to make a jump in. And at this point, actually, PP hasn't left. He's still here. Did use the Sonic for that kill onto the Terrorblade, so he'll be a little bit lacking in firepower, and they decide against actually making that attempt. Instead, though, PP and Genic are making their way mid, and Costabile just TP'd to this lane. This could
Ooh,
be an
can they
absolute
connect?
disaster.
Yeah, had the illusion to wake himself up. Very nice play from Costa Bile. I think they were going to make that move regardless, just because it was 8 minutes. If PP got another power rune, maybe they could have made a play to follow that all up. But an Invis rune is not too flashy. He's just going to be more of a defensive tool. But Mariano is here with the DK form. 3 heroes in his lane. He just says, I'm going to come in and hit the tower. Okay.
Let's get some free damage onto this tier 1 while we can, and if anyone actually seriously tries to defend it, there's 4 heroes here to potentially make a move. So Costabile, I think, very much aware he's sort of getting semi-surrounded here. But look at Gunner, sort of sneaking his way over, sends an Illuminate through, hits up onto 2. So Mariano and Genic fall back, and okay, yeah, that's fine. Genic's just going to jump away with a snowball, but if you're Gunner, mission accomplished. The push onto your tower has been pretty much done away with. Got yourself a little bit of extra farm, and now what is going on here? PP onto the high ground for a moment, but yeah, the second another hero shows up, that's an easy Sunder play for Costabile, and then Genic gets punished by Gunner with the Illuminate.
Yeah, it's really very clean, very easy. Gunner's getting an Orchid, which I absolutely agree with. I think that's going to be their easy way to punish not only the Queen of Pain, but also the Faceless Void. We'll have to see how they decide to react to that early item, as a little bit of a dive on the move on him,
I
but
think this is doable.
yeah. Oh, and Prada.
Prada's just going
Okay.
to be dropping here. Nightmare is not going to be enough to save him. Now the Chrono comes in, and Genic has arrived, so now they should get that kill, as Moo gets taken down, and Husky is going to have to do a little bit of dancing. Trying to maneuver his way around the tier 1 tower, waiting for reinforcements, because Gunner is coming in, so I don't know about this fight anymore. Lumiere had that trump card in the Chronosphere, but with Gunner arriving, this is going to get a little bit awkward. He doesn't have time walk for 5, so he needs to just try and walk away. Gunner is going to Solar Bind to creep, unfortunately, so Lumiere does simply walk away, and that exchange gets a little bit strange. They found the kill on Moo at the end of the day. That's good for Infinity, but now with your Chronosphere on cooldown, Four Zoomers don't have to be nearly as afraid of that Faceless Void for a while.
Yeah, even though they are immediately back onto mid with Mariano on the cart wave, it's a little bit of a scary timing. I think every cart is really Infinity's best chance at getting a lot of this free damage. It's just an issue where Four Zoomers have such great creep clear. As Husky, though,
Okay?
that's a little bit of a rough position. He got the tome, though, so he's level 6, and look at the healing. All your damage does certainly not stick here. But Costa Bile, I
Oh my
think he got
goodness.
gripped. Yeah.
Yeah. Distraction mid leads to a 3v1 opportunity up top, and Costabile now, well, that's what, his second? Yeah, his second death. 1 and 2 on the TB, and for the Terrorblade in particular, we always talk about this with those hyper carries. All it takes is a handful of deaths to really kind of knock you off of your usual axis, so see how well Four Zoomers can recover. They're doing a nice job of pushing their way into the middle lane here, but I don't think they can keep the siege creep alive long enough to finish the tower, but now they're looking for the fight. PP's going to get stunned up. False alarm. Not really a fight there. Just the stun so that PP doesn't go in, and we continue to sort of sit in this siege scenario, because Four Zoomers are
Keep
very,
the cart alive.
very reluctant to leave. Yeah, they cold embraced that card, which, I mean, it
Two
can't attack.
decreps, 2 cold embraces, you know? Maybe not the most damage a cart's ever done in the world, but certainly a lot of love poured onto it.
I feel like I'm just watching a very different game when everyone's pouring resources into keeping a siege creep alive for as long as possible. But, well, I don't know. If you're Four Zoomers, the damage was significant. It wasn't enough to take the tower, but we're in a better position in terms of the trade-off compared to where your own tier 1 mid is standing, as Prada will not be chased there. Just the 2 supports for Four Zoomers, so Husky and Z-Freak don't want to go too far forward, especially if there was someone farming in that north side jungle. There wasn't, but they don't have any vision on this side of the map, so they don't really have any way of knowing that.
Oh my goodness, PP just gets chunked. Doesn't have anybody to heal him up either. No earn charges. It's again, an issue I think that Infinity actually have here. If they're not finding the smokes and finding the kills with their ultis, it's so impossible to push these buildings. It's Mariano on his third Elder Dragon form in the mid lane, just trying to get the free damage, but that's where max level Decrepify pretty much here from Z-Freak. You're not getting your free right click. You're not getting your burn damage onto the tier 1. And in the other lanes, you're getting nuked out of your mind by the Keeper of the Light and the Winter Wyvern. I mean, it's hard to get these objectives. No one's really giving up anything for free.
TP bot from Gunner. See if they make a move here. They've got Z-Freak sort of floating nearby as well, but he is standing under that obs ward, so Infinity should know he's there. They don't know about Gunner just yet, though. He hasn't revealed himself entirely, but oh, what can they do with this? Husky would need to get off that Winter's Curse, but yeah, the second a Wyvern comes at you in the Arctic Burn form, you know something's up, and PP simply backs away. But over on the other side of the map, Mariano, oh my goodness. Another TP out just in the nick of time as he had a couple heroes on him, so oh, that's twice now that he's avoided death by the skin of his teeth. The problem is, this tier 1 tower is now going to come under attack, but look at those TPs. They're in. Lumiere's going to pop the Chrono. They want to go for the TB. PP's coming in. Sonic Wave, no Sonic because he stepped into it, but doesn't matter. Chronosphere ends. They throw the Sonic Wave out. They get Costabile. Now they're going to drop the Fiend's Grip onto the Sven, and now we see some backup finally coming in from Husky. I'm just not sure if it's going to be enough. Moo has to fight his way out. That's a nice stun to buy a little bit of time, but not enough to actually keep him alive as Moo goes down. PP, though, a little bit far forward, but his reinforcements are coming. Z-Freak's going to get hit up by the Walrus Punch. Lumiere comes in, drops the Dilation for the slow, getting the bashes onto Husky now as well. They'll slow him up with the tag team as they find the kill. PP picks up the triple, looking for the quad. Z-Freak on the run, and Prada stole the kill away, but it's still a 4-piece for the side of Infinity, and that's just a perfect play there, really. I mean, the Chrono leads in, and now, okay, not so perfect here if they lose Mariano, but even if he does go down, Infinity are going to be more than happy with the overall trade-off.
Yeah, and I really think for Zoomers had expected Infinity to just ditch on the play as soon as Mariano was forced to TP back to the base. They effectively took 4v5, but it's also where four Zoomers were dragging their feet a little bit. If you have Husky in a better position to immediately counteract that Chrono, don't think that kill happens. I feel like you actually just lose both the Queen of Pain and the Faceless Void in that situation, but instead the fight gets disjointed, it gets a little bit ugly, and I think more importantly, Lumiere hits that 3-man time dilation on the Pugna, onto the Winter Wyvern, onto the Coddle, and then, well, you can't cast any of your spells. I think I saw a 6x time dilation on Gunner. It's just brutal. You can't do anything. You can only run away at that point. And it's where this Faceless Void is going to continue to be that super obnoxious team fighting hero. And hey, you want to fight? Every time you get kills with this Chronosphere, it feels like you've knocked off another 30 seconds of your Chrono because your opponents are respawning. You don't actually feel that cooldown. We're going to have a Chrono in another 60 seconds here, and then we're going to see Infinity make a very similar play. I think in the meantime, though, this top tier 1 is probably over. I think this is going to be a dead tower, but a tower that I don't think they're too bothered by losing.
Yeah, I mean, the last time their opponents went for it, they got 4 kills out of it on the Infinity side, and it was worth noting in the aftermath, Lumiere took the opposing Tier 1 tower here on the 4-Zoomer side. So this will only be a trade-off, even if 4-Zoomers do manage to finish it off. And Infinity got to be feeling pretty good. Lumiere's at the top of the net worth. I believe he's got the last bit of his Maelstrom. There it is. Yeah, Hammer's coming out to him now. So you mentioned, they use that Chrono, they get a big fight. It feels like it chops a little bit of extra time off that cooldown, and now when the next Chrono's up, Lumiere's going to have even more damage to work with the Maelstrom and the Mask of Madness. So this is exactly the kind of pace that you were hoping to get from your Faceless Void in this game, and that's not even accounting for the fact that PP is no slouch either. You take a look at him, his BKB, just a single component away. There's a Blink Dagger up now on Mariano's Dragon Knight, so all the tools are sort of coming together for them at a pretty solid timing. 4-Zoomers, though, okay. Gonna get some items of their own. Moo has the Blink Dagger coming out to him, and there is going to be an urn picked up by Gunner. That's an interesting one. Went for the Orchid first. Now he'll transition to the Spirit Vessel play. So, yeah. Kind of felt like someone needed to get it. Wasn't sure if it was going to be one of the supports or not, but Gunner can pick that up. Then all of a sudden, the durability on the likes of the Faceless and the DK is not going to be as big of an issue.
Yeah. only concern though is you're not really playing around with any spell amp. Once you get into that like 18-20 minute mark, the creeps don't actually get one shot by that illuminate. It's why the ethereal blade is such a good option for you, because you get to one shot those creep blades for just a little bit more of those early stages in the game. And it's not a BKB, so Gunner is certainly going to be a target here. Dream situation is if Infinity can find him at the beginning very easily, usually with the DK stun. If they can get anything with Mariano's Blink, it's going to be huge. But that's where Infinity still have to get this kind of picture-perfect situation. Before, they got 2 heroes before the fight actually started. If they take a full 5-on-5 engagement, it's that pecking order that I brought up before, where they need to find that backline, they need to find the supports, they need to find pretty much everyone. And if unless they know where that positioning is, they could easily get countered. All it takes is one spell to be thrown out, and then suddenly you're getting nothing for your spells, as Mariano casually gets the mid tower, maybe?
Not
Does
just
Moo?
yet.
They're just gonna narrowly miss each other.
It's a lot of heroes moving into the area for 4 Zoomers, though, so they know, well, Mariana's still probably hanging around, and that would be a correct assumption. Question is, who gets the first blink, and it is going to be Moose. So now, Mariana's in some trouble. Going to try to run away, but there's that Arctic Burn slowing him up. Life Drain in from Z-Freak. Another stun out from Moo. Gennic's going to try for the snowball play. It is going to work, and now PP on the backline throws out the Sonic Wave. This is turning into a much more complicated fight than 4 Zoomers were ready for, and they might lose some heroes. Gunner's going to get taken down. They'll lose Husky as well. They finally track down Mariano on the back end of that fight, but they need to now make sure that they get everyone out safely. Moo should be okay. Stun is going to prevent PP from chasing for the time being, but they might keep going at this rate. Now, while that's happening, what is going on here? Lumiere trying to track the kill onto Z-Freak. That's awkward. Going to get disarmed. Time walks off the damage, though, and now he'll get it. Bash has come through, and Lumiere finds his mark. So, Mariano dies, but once again, they trade him out 3 for 1 in Infinity's favor, and it basically doubles their net worth lead. They go from a 1.5k to now over a 2 or 3k advantage with them taking that tier 1 mid.
Yeah, it just takes so long to actually kill that DK. It's where 4 Zoomers unfortunately don't have that much burst damage, and they're underneath an entire ward. They kind of give up the game there, to be honest, where it's them kind of rushing their entire backline forward. I mean, all it took was Gannick very casually walking up and snowballing Gunner for them to get that team fight going in their way. Now Gannick has a Blink Dagger, so Gunner has to be even more careful. It's where I really do wonder if this Spirit Vessel is going to work out, or if he would have loved his gold spent somewhere else. This is nice, though. They can get Mariano. It's still very one kill, though.
Oh, but he jumped into the stun. He was there to try and make the play, but they will lose Mariano. But with this Fiend's Grip, might be able to make a return play. Moo, okay. Moo just recognizing he's in some trouble. He'll just go for the shovel, but he knows he had teammates coming in, so they're going to try and turn this fight. They've already taken down 1. They're looking for a second. Gennick is saved from a little bit of that damage by the Nightmare, but not enough to fully save his life. As Gennick will fall, and now, I mean, you've brought 4 heroes up here on the side of 4 Zoomers. You might as well try and push onto that tower. They're going to pop their own glyph here to keep their creep wave alive. And Infinity, I don't know if you're in a position to really defend this, especially with Lumiere still hanging out mid. He could TP, but then you kind of lose the element of surprise at that stage, so I just have to let this tower go.
Yeah, it is a lot of illusions to jump into if they do look for that initiation. And they do have a really nice ward here that's going to scout out the Pugna. I hear that they would love to jump, but I really feel like unless Lumiere makes the call, it is just always going to be the movement to dodge out that team fight and just wait for something else. Even though Mariano, if he's not careful, so many heroes are still here, but that is a smoke on 4 underneath complete vision. I think Infinity have a pretty good idea what's going on here, not to mention the scan is going to clip the heroes in the river. Lumiere's got a very interesting position, but one that isn't actually going to matter, I don't think.
It'll be interesting to see when Infinity sort of try to ramp up the aggression again, because they've had this chrono up for a couple minutes now, I think, so...
Ooh,
yep, there we go. Yeah, right on cue. They'll jump in. They've spotted out Costable. They need to keep him locked down to prevent the Sunder, and they do exactly that. Big timing there from Gennick to get the snowball just to make sure, and... well, okay. Infinity knew what they were doing. Just as I said, they were sort of holding the chrono for a little while. Lumiere makes this play, so... why fight into the top lane when there's 4 heroes when we can find that Terrorblade farming alone down bot?
Yeah, and I think it really is just Infinity having the vision advantage. That's the second time this ward has gotten them such a great trade, and that's where also top have
Gunner's in
found their way
trouble.
on the Gunner.
They're going to try to heal him up as best as they can, but it's just not going to be enough. Gunner gets stunned up, drops low. Not dead yet, but they will be able to take him down. That trade-off isn't really going to matter too much, but now Z-Freak, he's just trying, hoping to fight his way through this as best as he can. Buy some time, I suppose, but he is still dead. As Z-Freak will fall, and now they've got the Fiend's Grip onto Moon. Actually not enough. They didn't have the Dragon Tail back up, so they can't cancel the TP. But it looks like Husky is going to be the one to pay. He gets in there with the Winter's Curse to ensure that his core can get away, but at the cost of his own life.
Yeah, it's still kind of rough though, and yeah, you win that fight so close to the pit. Lumiere is certainly capable of killing this Roshan. It's not the fastest, but it's not very slow either, especially with the DK form, the tail end of it. And really, there's no way Costa Rica could get into this fight. They're gonna scan it out, but I think this is just gonna be super easily theirs. And it's a fight that I really think, in a different world, Four Zoomers would love to contest. I mean, they have so many spells to throw in there. They have so much vision. Maybe it would have been even better if it was nighttime, but that's kind of a sad play to give up here. And I don't know, I'm just sitting at this Spirit Vessel, just staring at it. It's the second time the Gunner's died because he doesn't have any defensive itemization. I just hope he can get a charge in there sooner or later, because until then, this is going to feel like almost a moot point.
I mean, he can farm it pretty quickly. That is always going to be a thing with the Keeper of the Light in a core position, but will it be fast enough? And once he gets it, will it matter? Right? Because Infinity can still do a pretty substantial amount of damage to him, but regardless of whether it's going to be enough to save his life, you very rarely can find a situation where you are better off without a BKB than having it. So Gunner's quest for that item will continue. Meanwhile, checking in on the TB, how's Gustavo doing? Progress towards the Scotty. That is going to be a potential turning point here for this Four Zoomers lineup, but as we mentioned sort of 15 minutes ago when that pressure started being applied to the TB, it only takes a couple of deaths to really sort of knock you off here. 3 and 4 so far for the TB, and I mean, he's sitting behind the Faceless Void. This is not supposed to happen. Your TB should not be outfarmed by the Faceless Void at this point in the game, but his deaths have really set him back compared to Lumiere, who hasn't gone down a single time.
Yeah, and hey, you know, you're still farming, right? You're still doing your thing, you know. It's a situation where I don't think Four Zoomers are too upset by the idea of them just farming and finishing off a lot of these items. And at the end of the day, you also have a Sven, right? You are able to scale quite well versus your opponents. I'm just a little bit concerned with how much time, honestly, both sides are getting here, because Infinity are certainly the aggressors in this game, not to mention that they're also the team that is built for that fight. They have so many items that make their team fight that much easier. Really, the only one kind of slacking behind here is Mariana, who's gone for a Midas because, I mean, the man's allowed to get a Midas, but Husky is not allowed to survive.
Well, that's maybe not quite the valuable kill that they were hoping for, but it does now put Z-Freak in a bit of an awkward position. He was trying to sort of split push out this lane, and now he's got to be careful because PP's on the hunt, looking for him, going to be able to spot him out, and I do not know if the Pugna can get away. He's going to try for the TP. Sonic Wave used, but it's not enough.
Huh.
That's just a straight-up win. If you're the Pugna there, you bait out an ult and you get away cleanly.
I think PP maybe overestimated himself a little bit there, but
Oh,
on paper, you are dead. But yeah, Chrono, Gunner, taken down again. It's just really tough being a Coddle in this game, especially when Lumiere can just do that. And with 2 minutes left on the Aegis, well, you're going to trade the Aegis for your next Chronosphere, but I feel like, again, they're happy with that exchange wholeheartedly. In mid,
okay.
maybe?
Attempt on a Mariano. Genic, though, already getting into position, looking for the snowball. Where's the snowball going to pull them? They're still stuck in the river. Genic has to just sort of absorb the damage to try and get his teammate out of there. Okay, if you're Four Zoomers, you find yourself a bit of a return kill there. And maybe a little bit more, too, because, well, they tried to get Lumiere caught out, but it's actually Infinity who are the ones doing the catching. Husky and Z-Freak both taken down. And, yeah, I mean, if you had absolutely everyone there, maybe you can turn that around on Lumiere, but you don't have the damage to kill him. They didn't account for Prada, who was able to get that sort of Fiend's Grip into play, and the entire fight just sort of falls apart without the Winter's Curse.
Yeah, back to farming.
Yeah, Always got that fallback. Sabali just says, yeah, I'm out of here. He's got his Scotty. Wondering at this point if he looks for something like a BKB or if he's going to try and push maybe for a little bit more in the way of damage output. Hasn't queued up anything just yet. While that is a Blink Dagger up on Husky, so maybe you can avoid that situation he just ran into where Prada's sort of able to get the jump on him if he can blink in and go for that ult instead. Meanwhile, what is this? Mariano in some trouble up top. Genic, though, trying to move over into position to help. PP now arriving as well as they'll cancel Cristable's TP. He's going to be forced to fight, but now Mu activating the God Strength, looking to push in. Snowball preventing them from getting that kill just yet. Now Lumiere's going to join the fight. Dilation coming through. Mu dropping low. Lumiere's lost about half his health as well, though, but he is going to be able to fight his way through this as Cristabile already used the Sunder, trying to just run, basically, at this point, but they're keeping him locked down, but there's going to be that Winter's Curse providing a little bit of a reprieve. Cristabile, though, is still stuck in the fight. He's going to not actually take the damage from the Sonic Wave, but it doesn't matter. They just right-click him down. Cristabile has fallen. Gunner is now the one who's on the run as all of his teammates have died around him, and he's just not going to make it out. Mariano cleans up with the double, and Infinity get all 5 kills, and they didn't lose anyone on their own side.
Yeah, 5-0. You have Chrono back up as well. I really feel like Four Zoomers are just trying to do a little bit too much. I feel like they push into that fight maybe a little prematurely. They don't have their magic damage dealers to actually try and burst down Mariano, and it felt like it needed to be a burst. And certainly with this Midas, he's not the tankiest fellow, but at the same time, you end up sticking around for so long. All it takes is just a few outpost TPs and a few smokes over, and then suddenly your entire team is there, and your entire team is not. So many times I think Four Zoomers are just kind of caught out on the wrong side of the map without their full 5-man, and keep on bringing up how difficult it should be for Infinity to fight into that full 5-man, but I feel like Four Zoomers just never start the fight with everyone. It's always just them, 2 or 3 heroes going for pickoffs, going for small little plays, and then really getting hard punished for it.
Yeah, and Cristabile just in such a rough position there, right? He uses that Sunder not at the last possible second, but at a point in the fight where he started feeling threatened. It was long enough for Husky to get in for the ult, but then the hero that he swapped HP with really didn't get him all the way to full, so I don't know, just an awkward situation for him. We do see the BKB queued up, so that is going to be the play, and yeah, at this point it kind of feels like he needs it. 3 and 5 on this Terrorblade. He's just not having the durability that he needs, and if you don't have the durability, then all these other tools in the toolkit damage-wise are not relevant.
I like this, though. Going towards the bottom lane, even if it's just a Bane, I feel like Four Zoomers need to be inseparable from each other. They need to just start playing all together. Solarbind should be a very dead Prada, but they need to keep this going. Gets the D word as well. Prada's still not dead, which is really funny, but... Oh, is he freak?
Yep, that's going to turn into a trade-off pretty quickly, or maybe not. Husky, that's a nifty play there, but the Sonic Wave is just going to blow up that first support. They haven't taken Husky down just yet, but they have bigger fish to fry. They're going to get onto Cristabile. There's going to be the Chronosphere coming out from Lumiere. He wants Gunner first, though. Quickly getting that first kill. Now they'll look for the second. The Sunder is available, though, but Terrorblade just getting stunned up repeatedly. Is he going to have time to get it off? The Walrus Punch keeps him locked down. He's not going to get the ult off. Mu now dies as well, and it's another 5-man wipe. Get it? No. That's a little bit of a faux pas there. Oops. It happens. It happens, yeah. Accidental BM there, but that is a 5-for-1 trade for Infinity. They are once again happy with the results, and for Zoomers, not actually GGing out. That was from the wrong side, but one more fight like that, and they might consider an earlier GG call here, because these engagements are just going so terribly.
Yeah, and I mean, again, praising them being together as 5. They get the free kill onto the Bane. The supports just travel a little bit too close to that secret shop. They get initiated on by the DK. You lose both your Curse and your Pugnus so early on in the fight. Then both of your cores get chronoed. I mean, it's just too easy for Lumiere. He really hasn't had to be scared of the Curse or the Decrep or the Blinding Light. Really, none of those saves have come through any time Lumiere's committed the chrono, and you know, you could just say Lumiere's too good, but I also feel like Four Zoomers are not doing themselves any favors here, and I really think with this incredibly fast Roche respawn, that's where Infinity, they don't have chrono for another 50 seconds, but that's where they're going to try and take this game. Even if they get that second Roche, they certainly don't push buildings all too fast, but it'll be another level of security they get to play around. It really does feel like Infinity need to make a mistake for Forza Zoomers to get all that gold, all that XP that they really are lacking. I mean, look at Z-Freak and Husky. They are so low level, just not really been able to be a part of any of these kills that have happened in the mid game. They just spent so much of this game dead or on the sidelines.
Starved for farms, starved for levels. In the meantime, um, I don't know what they've really gotten out of Moo here on this offlane Sven. It feels like this could have been quite literally any other offlane option, and they'd be getting a little bit more, because Moo, with this build, he's not doing a lot of damage. You saw in that last fight, even with God Strength up, he wasn't hitting as hard as you would like him to be. The armor from the War Cry isn't really saving anyone's life either. His stun is neat, but not a game changer, so it just hasn't really worked out. He's got the lowest of the net worths among those core heroes, and this is the thing about Four Zoomers. We love that they experiment pretty frequently, but not every experiment is successful, and right now, Position 3 Sven is looking a little iffy, especially with Roshan being taken down again. Aegis into the Faceless Void's hands. Mariano, I think, yeah, he's going to be the one to take the shard, so he's got that Fireball now up for free. Infinity are immediately going to look for a fight. They've got the Chrono back up. They've got Aegis. They've got BKBs. They are just ready to go. See if Four Zoomers are ready to deal with this fight, because if Lumiere gets in onto Gunnar right now, yeah, okay, fight's done. Gunnar's going to die here. There's just nothing they can do to save him, and everyone has to leave. Okay, not everyone. Husky gets caught out. He'll be taken down as well, so it's just that simple, right? With Gunnar dead first, there's just no actual engagement.
Yeah, and you know, ooh, Moo. No way!
Fiend's Grip coming in. He's in some serious trouble as Lumiere is going to push his way forward. Moo still had enough mana for the stun, so he'll certainly make them work for it, but they should find this kill. Moo taken down. Z-Freak gets caught further to the north as well, and Costable is the only survivor because he TP'd out as soon as he had the chance.
Yeah, I mean, has Four Zoomers ever been alive for a full 5 fight? I'm like, I'm trying to think of a time where it's just very simply them defending a tower, them defending, you know, a high ground push. I really feel like Infinity just haven't given them that easy initiation ever. It's always just been Lumiere going in, getting his man, and then walking away. Or they've been trying to kill Mariano and then not killing him fast enough. I mean, I honestly think with that, they don't have Chrono, you know, they're not going to have the freest time, but it still is just that fact of Faceless Void where if you kill heroes with your Chronosphere, it's only 60 seconds and he's going to have another one. I mean, there's no wasted time here as, oh, Husky is not allowed to be sneaky, ever. It's just always scouted out. Infinity's instincts are just on point.
Z-Freak forced back a little bit as well as Lumiere sort of steps towards him with the reverse time walk, and now does the same thing to Gunnar. This is just so big for him. Having that shard, you can just sort of pump fake the initiation, and I mean, it's not always going to be a fake. If Gunnar actually says, I'll stand here and call your bluff, then Lumiere is able to just start sort of hacking away at him, so Four Zoomers never able to get into a full sort of defensive position there with that fake out. They lose the bottom lane of Rax. They're trailing now by 22,000 net worth, and well, this is going to be a hard game for Infinity to throw. Not that it's unthrowable. No game ever truly is, but they just feel like they're firing on all cylinders now, whereas Four Zoomers are struggling and scrambling to find answers.
Yeah, I really feel like the only way they do win a fight is if they get a curse onto the Queen of Pain and Lumiere just murks him. I feel like that's what they have to look for. Of course, then you do have that risk. If you do blow it early, then you don't have that counter in the chrono. But at the same time, I think Four Zoomers just need to be talking with each other a little more. It's not like Lumiere has this nullifier yet. This Pugna should still feel like a crusher. It should feel like if you have a hero chronoed, a single hero chronoed, then you decrep him. They have to nuke him down with PP, and in our hypothetical, PP's already dead. So, you know, fingers crossed. But so many things have to go right for Four Zoomers, I think, to hold their high ground here. And it's also where, well, Lumiere, back on the high ground, is able to just kind of do his thing, and Moo's waiting in the wings, but without a BKB of his own, he's constantly afraid of getting stunned. He could be just as easily initiated on. It's not like he's getting very much farm either. I think at least they're able to TP out of Z-Freak in the top lane, but now they're just completely corralled. They are stuck in their base.
Not a great situation there, but still have the full lineup alive. Everybody's sort of working with their ults here outside of Gunnar, but his is back up in 15 seconds, so they should be ready to go for a fight. It's just most of the fights haven't really gone their way, but they need to turn it around. They're starting to run out of opportunities. Infinity, meanwhile, well, I was going to say they can take it low and slow. You've got a minute on the Aegis, so maybe that will prompt them to do a little bit more poking and prodding here before that time's out. But even if they don't, they're going to be okay. They don't really feel that sense of urgency right now, considering this lead that they've got. Mariano picked up an Aghanim Scepter, so he's got the Black Dragon form. And really, you're just, excuse me, just going to be able to keep pushing in lanes everywhere that you want to. You aren't overly concerned with these TB illusions. They're annoying, sure, at this point in the game, but I'm not sure if they're enough of a factor, really. And if it's the Gunner Keeper of the Light who's the one doing the split pushing, then you've just got kill opportunities.
Yeah, and I think in the other game where we saw this core Keeper of the Light, he's always killable. You're always able to find him and pick him off if he gives you that kind of situation. And Gunner is not nearly playing with the lead that I think Akotl would like to play in this game. At the same time, as we always talk about with Terrorblade, Kostabile hasn't been able to get into his stronghold. He hasn't been able to stay in the enemy triangle. He hasn't been able to cut off a lot of these waves. Even now, he is being forced to sit idly by while Mu finishes his BKB, pushing in the super creep wave. It's just not pretty. You're not getting a lot of that farm spread out evenly. At the very least, your Sven has his BKB now, but it is just a matter of time here. It's really just waiting on Lumiere, and he has got a DD bottled. All it takes is one initiation, and then the game could very easily be blown wide open. And they do have buybacks, something to play around versus the Faceless Void. You know, at the very least, you can usually defend the first set, but the problem will arise whenever everything is just kind of torn out of you. Oh, Lumiere.
Oh, you got it. Chronosphere onto the Coddle. They need to save him, but Mariano blinks in, gets a stun onto Husky, so there's not going to be any sort of defensive play. Gunner gets taken down, no buyback available. Husky, he does have his, but I don't know if this is really going to be enough. Maybe if he can get off a good Winter's Curse, but by the time he rejoins the fight, Mu gets locked down by that Fiend's Grip, and he is dead as well. No buyback for your Sven. They're 2 cores down. I don't really think that they can do this with just Costabile and the 2 supports. They would need the miracle of all miracles with the Winter's Curse to do anything here.
Yeah, but look at how spread out they are, and they don't need to be together at all. Mariano is so far away. Lumiere takes a completely different objective. PP sticks in the trees, waiting for Husky to try and sneak up on his Faceless Void, because that's the only player that they can really curse to make anything tangible happen for them. I think for Zoomers might be time, but we'll see. They've got at least one more defense in them. It's super unfortunate. Gunner would have buyback, but he bought out his Aeon Disc at the secret shop the moment he got jumped. So no defense for you there. They do have 1 melee Rex, 900 HP to play around with as the DK form does time out, but this is still a pretty nightmare situation. I mean, Lumiere's just kind of chilling in your base right now, not a fear in the world.
Not a whole lot that he has to worry about.
Oh,
It's
the
the
kick.
kick. Pushes Costabile out of the base. They'll hit him with the Dragon Tail. They'll hit him with the Snowball. They'll hit him with the Walrus Punch. But Lumiere himself was actually on the back line. So they don't have the damage to kill off Costabile just yet, but they are still finding pickups. Husky gets taken down. Costabile, though, did get the Sunder. He's going to pop the BKB in the meta, but on that back line, PP's still going to work. Z-Freak taken down. Both the supports gone again. He'll blink himself away from the Terrorblade. And now, Mu, what are you doing out here? Well, they're calling GG, so it doesn't really matter, but that is going to be it. That's the final fight. Not the most inspired stuff by 4 Zoomers. They were already playing from so far behind, and they quickly realized they weren't going to be able to pull it through.
Yeah, rough game. They really got worked here. I think the Faceless Void, maybe that's the big mistake here, letting that hero through for Lumiere. Feels like that was exactly what they needed. I think playing that core coddle into the Faceless Void, you could say was an even more difficult game plan for Zoomers to actually pull off here, but I do feel like they had something. They had some nifty ideas on paper. Everything kind of makes sense, right? You have the TB to push out the lanes. Okay, the Sven's kind of a wild card there, but you had a lot of Moose Heroes banned out, so you pick it up just to have a lane versus the Sven. You've got someone to cancel grip pretty consistently. You've got 3 counters, arguably, for that Faceless Void when he does try to go for a chrono, but never in this game did I feel like Lumiere was pressed to his limits to look for those heroes, to dive in deeper. He just had so much time to really just go for whatever he wanted. And of course, towards the end of the game, he started getting smaller chronos, only getting Gunner, really. I think at the end of the game there, he chronoed Gunner, I think, 3 times in his last 3 chronos. But before that, finding both Kostabile and Gunner, or Kostabile and Mu, just finding these heroes separated from the supports. I think it just happened 2 or 3 too many times. And then after that, you just start building up so much speed. You're not really coming item for item with Costabile. Just was kind of a sad game all around for Zoomers. I think it's a game that they can easily move past, but still was not pretty.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing to key in on, as you said. They can move past it easily. They can just think to themselves, "We tried something. We put Mu on a Sven off lane. That didn't work, and we sort of had the domino effect across the other core heroes as well." So it was worth a try. It didn't work. We'll see if they go for something a little bit more conventional for this second game. Because at this point, oh, Infinity aren't going to let up. Infinity now with their 6th win in Phase 2, so they are just riding high on their momentum. They're playing so damn well as a team here, and they're not going to take their foot off the gas, so it's going to be up to 4Zoomers to make some adjustments heading into that second game. So that second game is on its way. Apparently, we do have a bit of a Dota update, so it might take a little while longer while the players all patch, but we will be back in about 5 to 10 minutes for game 2 between 4Zoomers and Infinity. So stick around. Coming right back.